Tonight's episode of Horrified is brought to you by Fright Rags, the greatest and most original officially licensed horror apparel and accessories in the world. Go to frightrags.com and use promo code ARISCOPE10 at checkout and save 10% off your entire order. And now, Ariscope Pictures presents the original series, Horrified.
No matter how firm we are in our convictions that ghosts do or do not exist, at some point in each of our lives, we're faced with an experience that can only be explained as paranormal. For actor and celebrated dungeon master Matthew Mercer, his own personal experience living in a haunted house turned out to be even more terrifying than losing your D20 while facing off with the Demilich in the Tomb of Horrors.
Demilich.
Demilich.
No, Corey, Lich.
Whatever.
So I've had a bit of a fascination with the paranormal pretty much most of my life since childhood, and my story today is going to revolve around kind of where that began. When I was about 6 years old in Florida, my family, we were living, kind of moving about once every year or two, renting from house to house, and we just got into a new place. The house my family had just moved into was buttressed right against a graveyard. Not even joking, like we had our house and there was the backyard, which was a decent sized backyard, and we had a big concrete wall that I couldn't really see over because it was too high, but I did know because my dad lifted me up to show me that there was just a sprawling graveyard on the other side that went on into the trees and surrounding forest area. I also had a younger brother, and we both shared a room, and our beds were kind of next to each other, and as an older brother does, you like to mess with your younger brother. So when weird things started to happen throughout the house, I assumed it was his vengeance upon me. I'd find things that I'd placed, toys that I'd specifically put in areas that would be moved or vanishing for a while and then show up in places where they had no reason to be there, or neither of us really had the arm reach to put them there. And I used to get really angry at my brother for this, and he would claim ignorance, and the frustration would mount. It came to a forefront where in this house, some of the nights in Florida could sometimes get pretty cold, and it's hard to believe. We had one window in there that we'd both go to sleep and wake up the next morning and it'd be really, really freezing in our bedroom. And I'd look over and the window would be wide open, like fully open, the glass pane pushed to the very outer side of this window. And I used to blame him because I wasn't doing it, and he would once again claim ignorance, and we'd go and close the window in the morning. And this continued to happen day after day, week after week, and the more it happened, the more frustrating it got. But the little part of me in the back of my head was like, what if it's not my brother? What if this is some spiritual entity from this graveyard that's been slowly forcing its way into our home, and it's just trying to prove to me that there is an afterlife, or just generally with me and my brother, which is fine too. But in the back of my head, I knew it wasn't, and it was just me trying to convince myself that it was a fun way to tie in my interest in the paranormal. So we began to tell my dad about it, that my brother was messing with me in hopes that maybe he could, stop him from doing that, or could be like, oh, well, actually this place is haunted. He didn't believe that at all, got frustrated that it was either me doing this or my brother was sleepwalking or whatever this case may be. He finally got a little frustrated with it and said, all right, look, we're gonna make sure this doesn't happen. He closes the window, takes the dowel rod and jams it on the opposite side to make sure that neither of us could get it open. Even if we wanted to try, locked it, we're good to go. We go to sleep that night. We wake up the next morning, it's freezing cold in the room. My first thought was, okay, one of us had to have moved it. I look over and the window is broken. We go and tell my dad that somehow the window got broken. I'm thinking it may have been my brother anyway, and he's gonna probably get in a lot of trouble, and being the older brother, it's kind of fun to watch the younger brother get into trouble. My dad comes in a huff, like, all right, wait, the window's broken? And looks, there's no glass on the floor. It wasn't broken from the outside in. The glass was scattered all throughout the bush, right below the window on the outside. So with no signs of damage or struggle on either my hands or my brother's, neither of us had the opportunity or the strength to break that window outward, nor did we hear the breaking sound to wake us up in the middle of the night, and my dad definitely didn't recall this at all. So this led into the three of us investigating the possibilities, and the more and more we looked into it, I began looking up at my dad's face and watching him get more and more scared. And the more that he didn't have an answer as to why this had happened, the more my kind of, make my brother get in trouble, began to turn more into, oh my God, there's a graveyard behind us. And I began to connect all the other dots. And it was the point where I remember my mom coming home later on that day that he began to tell her, so, Lori, I think the house is haunted. And hearing that from your father when you're 6, 7 years old, it tends to quake you to your core. And my brother looked at each other. My brother just started sobbing because he's a sensitive boy. And I kept looking back to that singular moment where my father had to admit to my mom that this place very well might be haunted. Well, that was the moment that I became horrified.